Yo, what's going on, Planet S.O.N family? It's your main man, JD. Thank you for tuning in. This is Drinks with JD.
Okay, so how it happened, opening the studio. So, all right, it's a pretty long story.
Okay.
I'll try to cut through. I'll try to cut through it.
Fair enough.
So when I was about 15 or 16, I was already super in depth with music. Like I wanted to be doing music. At that time, I was still making my own music.
Yeah.
I was doing reggaeton. There was no one out here who did reggaeton.
Oh, wow.
No one. Like I was like, who do I go to?
Yeah.
You know, I ended up finding a studio that you know they had it in their description that they work with that kind of music, and I was like, that's a lead, I'll go for it, you know. So I had my mom drop me off at that studio. I went inside. I remember they had dogs, they were trapping. You know, I went into the back room where they had the studio. Homeboy had like a, you know, like at this time weed was still legal. You know? And so I had a homeboy with like 2 big ass bags of weed, and like I'm 16. I'm like, oh man, this is the trap. Like, you know, like I was like low key nervous, you know, but I was like, okay, well it's fine, you know. And then I saw he had a gun, and then I was like, oh damn, like, okay, well this is a studio, this is music, whatever. I think that's how it works. So fast forward to me in college.
Okay.
The engineer, the owner of that studio, we had a piano class together.
Okay.
And I looked at him, and he was familiar to me. Like I was like, I know, oh, that's that guy. You know, like I remember him, but I didn't talk to him or anything because I was like, you know, whatever. I'm doing my own thing now. Yeah. But he came up to me, and he was like, "Hey, you're Manny, right?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, like
you know me?
Yeah. Well, what's up? How you been?" Born again Christian.
Oh wow.
So he totally flipped his entire life around.
Wow.
Like he stopped doing everything he was doing, you know, and all that.
Yeah.
And he, you know, he was changing his life for what he feels is better for him, and you know, good for him for that. I'm super happy to him for that. Yeah. Super happy for him.
No doubt. Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, God is good. God is good for changing him up.
So he started, you know, doing his thing, and like he started doing a lot better, and we ended up just being friends there at school. So we started doing projects together.
That's so cool, man.
So we had a project where we had to record a band. He knew a band. So we did that project together. Eventually, he wanted to dedicate himself a little more to church. Yeah. So he had me take over recording the band. So I started doing that. I got really close with the lead of the band, the guitar player. And one of his really good friends had an office space. And this maybe a couple years after, you know, we're still working together and whatnot, his friend messages me and he says, "Hey, I'm looking for somebody to take over this lease. It's an office that we were using for like some movie stuff and whatnot. Yeah. Do you want to take it?" I was like, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
I can use the space, why not? Yeah. And so, so that's how I ended up getting into that space. I ended up taking over that lease with a really good friend of mine named Doble. And so you know, we started there. You know, we would sleep on the floor. Yeah. You know, we were broke at that time. We were super broke. So Doble worked at a pizzeria. Okay. And so he would bring pizzas every night. Wow. And so, you know, we would just be recording and just eating pizza like every day. And we did that for like, I want to say at least 8 months.
That's amazing, man. Yeah. That's amazing. To chase the dream. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? To be on the grind, chase the dream, you got to start at the bottom. Look at you guys. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's basically how it got to, you know, from nothing to having a studio. Yeah. You know, eventually Doble, you know, he started working on himself and he started, you know, figuring things out for him, you know, for himself, for his life. Yeah. And I just kind of kept going, you know.
That's cool. Man.
I stayed consistent. I kept working towards this. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. And then just little by little started building it up.
Yeah, and then here we are.
And then here we are today.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. You should feel very proud of yourself.
I'm proud of myself. But I'm also really grateful. You know, I'm grateful for everybody who's been a part of that
the
journey.
Blessings.
Yeah, by all means, because literally, like, that's how life works. Exactly. And it's crazy. It's crazy how life works.
That's
because
amazing.
It's literally just been through connections and just meeting people that I've managed to develop everything to what it is today.
Of course. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah. All right, so let's, I guess, dive in a little bit into into your craft. Okay. Right? So what's the toughest part of being a music engineer?
The toughest part of being a music engineer. So I would say the most difficult part would probably be, That's actually a really good question. I want to say personalities.
Okay.
Personalities, and that's only because I'm very good with people. Obviously, I mentioned that before. But every once in a while, you do get someone who can be a little more stubborn, a little more my way or the highway, which is okay for the most part.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you're going into a field of creativity. If you're hiring someone to do something with you, you're hiring them to do something with you.
Exactly.
You know, you could hire them to do it for you, but if that's the case, do it yourself. You know, like, it's just a really tricky area, you know, and so like sometimes people will come in and they want something exactly like this, and as much as you tell them that might be a bad idea, it'll probably be better like this, they're like no, and okay, you know. So I've learned, you know, pretty quickly that, you know, in order to work with people is you have to work with them. You know, if they come in and they have a very, you know, strong personality and they have a certain type of way of doing things, let them work the way they want to work. And as you know, whenever they decide to ask you for an opinion or, hey, what do you think of this, that's where you can kind of step in and see how far you can take it. So for me, it comes off a lot easier because, again, I'm good with people. So I can gravitate, I can move, and I can maneuver however I need to in order to work with that person to get whatever needs to get done. But I can definitely see that being a difficult thing for engineers to do, is how do I work with this person?
Exactly,
you know, like, oh, they're asking this, or oh, they don't want to do this, they don't want to listen to that. You know, learning how to maneuver and work with people is probably one of the most difficult things, and that's not just with engineering. I feel like that's with anything.
For sure. You're right. Yeah. And especially, like, let's say with your craft, right? Yeah. Like, I'm guessing that you have, let's say, certain presets or certain things that you like to do.
Yeah. So I mean, by all means, I have like my templates that I've built. You know, so I have templates that, you know, for vocals, templates for bands, like just depending on what I'm working with. When it comes to that, I would say the hardest thing is maybe setup.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, and that being like, let's say I'm working with a band and, you know, they have a drummer. So what sound am I going for? What do their drums sound like?
Exactly.
You know, like, at the end of the day, it's all about opinion, really. It's all opinion, it's all perspective. You know, it's an art.
And also, well, to speak on that art, you know, it's you're also, what you're doing, it's also an important part to what they're doing, because what they're doing, let's say they're a singer or a rapper, right? That's a part of the art, but your art, it's also an important aspect, right? You know, so you're just blending it in. However, you guys are both artists. You know what I'm saying? No matter how you paint, whether you paint with your vocals or, you know, you do the engineering side, no matter how you do it, you know, you're just blending your art together.
It's a collaborative effort.
Exactly. And that's what people need to understand.
Right, exactly, And so that goes back to what I was saying before. It's like learning how to maneuver and work with people.
For sure.
Because when people have different personalities, you don't want to, you know, you don't want to clash. You want to be able to work together.
Yeah. You know? And as artists, I know for a fact that, let's say for me, I kind of consider myself a artist of the visual side, you know? And I know that we could sometimes be sensitive. So
that's definitely a huge thing. Also, is that artists like, it's not necessarily the ego, but it's very easy to hurt the ego. You know, it's very easy. So you have to be careful. Like, you can't just go and tell an artist, no, that sounds horrible. Like, no, like, don't tell them that. You know, instead of telling them how bad something sounds, tell them how to fix it.
Exactly.
Tell them what's wrong. That way they can learn. You know, again, like what I said earlier about school, educate yourself.
Exactly.
You know, you want to educate yourself and you want to educate the people that are around you. You want everybody to do better. Yeah.
All right, man. So on your Instagram, I noticed that you got upset when the news reported that Kanye West fired his engineer after oversleeping, because the engineer, he worked over 24 hours straight. You know, so the question is, do you feel that music engineers are underappreciated?